Okay, I would like to call to order the October 27, 2025 meeting of the Michigan and Complete Streets Committee. The call, next to me is Laura Robertson, the town planner, and Trish Bergami, who works in the planning office and helps us out. Jim Levy is here. How are you, Jim? And Maddie is here. Maddie Hanna, how are you, Maddie? Let's see here. Ian Munger with the police department. He was a coordinator and from time to time joins our Complete Streets committee meetings. Ben Kennedy, not here today. Brian Doherty, how are you, Brian?
Great. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. You want to just give a name quickly?
Sure, April Steenberg.
April Steenberg, good. And
Cynthia Holmes.
Cynthia Holmes, two citizens who will join us from today. And we have
Carla Dugal.
and
And Kathy Kussman.
Guzman, okay. And I'm William Chapman, Chair of Complete Streets Committee, and Teresa Healy may join us. I don't know. She's also on the Complete Streets Committee.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next piece of business is privilege of the floor. So if there is any citizen who would like to offer some thoughts to us, so you do so. So please just give us your name if you would. And, oh, Tommy Nicker's here. Hi, Tommy.
Hello.
So we'll count him as joining us and now me. So April.
So
And what's your street address again?
I'm on Rosendale Road,
Rosendale
right near
Road,
the
okay.
turn by
Okay.
Lock 7.
Okay,
So we actually reached out before this committee was even formed to try to get involved. My husband and I reached out to Jamie Puccioni because of our concerns with how the Route 7 study might impact Rosendale Road, because we've already seen so many issues as a result of the circle that the county put in. There wasn't any community discussion. It just went in, and it's certainly alleviated the backup that you see on River Road. But what it's done is it's during peak hours, it's dumped a tremendous amount of traffic onto Rosendale Road to the point where, we will be trying to get out of our driveway and there isn't even a brake for us to pull out. And if we get lucky and somebody's turning on Lock 7, we gun it, we get out there. But for the people that are on that stretch between the circle and Lock 7, I see people at Katerina Estates and they're struggling just to pull out. One of my main concerns too on that stretch that I mentioned, there's at least one or two elderly people that I'm aware of. And, as you get around the bend, these people are running across the road trying to get their mail in the winter. And like I said, there's barely even a break. And I can say, honestly, I get nervous when I bring the trash out. I get nervous when I grab my mail for that 2 seconds that I've got my back to the traffic. Certainly my mailbox has been hit multiple times, both neighbors. It's almost that season again. People come screaming around that curve and they end up on one of two neighbors' lawns, depending on which way they're driving. That happens. I mean, I usually see it at least 4 times a season, and I don't know about, what the actual numbers are, but, obviously we're very concerned about the deaths on Route 7. It's got to be the priority to address that. All we're asking is that understand that there's going to be an impact, or could be an impact, to Rosendale Road as well. And I was extremely grateful in this last town board meeting to hear the supervisor mention that Consall Road and Rosendale Road are the 2 worst roads in the town. And I'm glad that that's been recognized. Obviously I'm not counting Route 7 since that's a state road, but I'm just asking for this committee to just be aware of what we're dealing with and just don't forget us in this study. And the other thing, just that on a personal nature, while I was there dealing with our water issue, there was an individual from Consall Road. He mentioned that he's been before the board 13 times asking for help. And, I'm not going to go into exactly what went on, but it did resonate with me, not only his story of losing a son, but for all those, that have lost someone on Route 7. And I was saying to my husband, you know, why as a community, why aren't we doing something? And I don't care whether it's planting a tree or, you know, some kind of support for these people. And I am aware of the small legislature that was passed. I think that's great on the state level. But I just wanted to maybe, you know, say to the committee, there's people that are hurting here and we should be supporting them, not attacking them or at a board meeting. That's all.
Cynthia Mullins, 2890 Troy Schenectady Road, Route 7. Really appreciate what was shared when I was here in September. And I'm relieved and grateful that should the concept of a multi-use path go in, that I shouldn't lose any more of my property. So I want to start with, you know, the education part is huge and appreciated. I wanted to come again today for a couple of reasons, just to restate that while I'm relieved and grateful, I'm also still opposed to a multi-use lane. And sadly, the last meeting was the most recent fatality of Route 7 just a couple hours later on September 15th. And Friday, October 17th was another non-fatal, apparently non-serious accident, 4 to the 7 on that Friday. In hindsight, the impact of that woke me up because it was right near my house. So that was a head-on. It was more of all the responding agencies, which I'm grateful for, that alerted me that what I heard was probably a car accident. So I just want to sort of summarize that for safety and for saving money purposes, I'm still against a multi-use path. So for safety reasons, I truly, in my 32 years of living in my home on Route 7, do not believe it's a safer option to put more pedestrians, more families, more bicycles on Route 7. Even if there's a buffer zone, even if a multi-use path is wider. And I also think as I drive around, I'm aware of where there are other multi-use lanes, and because it's asphalt color and what I've seen on Route 7 just in the last year, let alone the 32, I just think it'll be used as another traffic lane and you'll have pedestrians and bicycles on it. I have no proof. I'm sure there's probably data for that. I just see a lot as a gardener being outside because I'd rather be outside than inside. And then there's the time where perhaps I'm sitting on my porch resting from all the gardening that I can't help to see what I see. Just coming here to take a left out of my driveway to come to this meeting, I had to be careful of that middle turn lane because someone from Lori pulled out with the directional to turn into going toward, you know, the west, but rode that whole middle lane all the way to Pinecrest because they use it as a travel lane. So I'm mindful. I'm really glad that I wasn't in a hurry to get here. But just between Lori and Pinecrest, that's frequently used as a travel lane, not a turn. So people, I just don't like the looks of a multi-use lane. Instead of using multi-use path, because I see so many pedestrians, seriously, of all ages, people my age and older, certainly young families and young kids, and they may not even go to Douglas to cross to Pinecrest to get to the bike paths, because there's a cul-de-sac at the end and the bike path connection. That's only, it's less than half a mile from Douglas. And now that I also know that those lanes are wider than most roads, they have a lot of territory to cover. Let's make that safe. Let's not spend the money on putting more pedestrians and bicycles on Route 7. Let's make it safer to cross to the existing bike. Let's add a push button crosswalk and whatever lighting and median and whatever's needed to make that safer. When I first moved in, my husband and I used to cross the road to walk across the street. there could be $10,000 across the street and I am not walking across that road because it's just coming here, you know, it's to be very mindful just when we pull out on that. Oh, and I'm also curious because I've heard it doesn't mean the concepts or what I've heard is accurate. But I've heard that, you know, I understand in front of the Bellevue Women's Hospital Ellis that you're looking at all 4 miles, but that is obviously a problem area. Perhaps narrowing the lanes and adding medians. I don't know how that would work with the size of vehicles, personal and commercial, that travel Route 7. How do you do both? And if there's a U-turn option, how can that be safe? You either narrow the lanes or have medians. I think if you do both, I don't know enough about traffic, but the map doesn't look like there'd be enough room at some traffic light. Eventually we need to go the other way. I need to pull into my driveway and I need to be able to go the other direction. You know, because if it's successful there, I would imagine it's going to come down the entire corridor. And I'm not opposed to it. I'm curious how that would work. And then saving money. We already have sidewalks on each side. They already handle pedestrian and bicycle traffic and a lot of other things that shouldn't be on the bike path or multi-use path, which means where would the policing come from? Because I'm not going to age in place and be the person that calls the police all the time. I have that potential and I just won't feed it. I can't be that beast. You know, for egregious, that's one thing, but not for the list of things I see just in this past year. And a multi-use path would be wider than a sidewalk, which means snow removal. That I would think the existing snow sidewalk machines that the town has would have to do twice as many passes. One pass isn't going to be enough. And then my husband and I are trying to age in place on that road. We'll see how long that goes. We're not old, but you know, we're not young. So snow removal on that road is difficult. And we try to time it till after the snow machine goes by because it leaves clumps of heavy snow and ice. It's what the state plows put there. So needing to wait for 2 passes of a snow machine, I just see winters, even though it's difficult, that much more difficult on the residents on a primarily residential road, clearing that. Not to mention all the driveways, all the side streets, and the potential to hit that many more people on the multi-use path. I just think the location, it's the worst idea I've heard in a while. Can the public attend a Safe on 7 committee meeting? I see them listed. I don't come because I don't want to burst into a meeting that's designed for the people on the committee. And if you have more information about that November public meeting for the Safe on 7, I'm just keeping my ear to the ground. So thank you for your time.
And if you want to summarize your thoughts and send us an email, we'll certainly share it with everyone in the community so we can get a chance to.
Yep.
Okay. We have Tony Nicky, a member of the committee who just joined us, and Tessie, who joined us just over his name call. So.
Sorry, I was getting a dog tag for my dog.
No, that's all right. Anyone else? Privilege of the floor? Well, okay. Minutes, no minutes that we're pressing tonight. Okay. All business safety on Route 7, Lincoln study update. And do you have anything?
Yeah, just to address Cynthia's question, the committee meetings are not really open to the public, although we had a member of the public come and we didn't kick them out. We think that the date for the in-person meeting for the Route 7 concepts and presentation, we're hoping that it'll be November 18th. So we're still working on like flyer materials to get out to people. But that seems to be the date that works the best in the matrix of the town meetings. So that should be finalized really shortly, and then that'll get put up to the public for attendance. That meeting will have just a quick summary of the linkage study, where it originated, what the public comment was. And then it has slides about the concepts. It has, they looked at the issue of diverting traffic onto Rosendale Road. So it has times of going down Rosendale Road and making sure that any of the concepts wouldn't divert traffic to Rosendale Road. It has that. It does have different concepts. One of them is a multi-use path. One of them is a median. They are exploring medians with traffic lights that would have U-turn lanes. So all of that will be at that meeting. And if you guys can make it, it's really important for you to come, and we'll give them the feedback as well, but bring your neighbors, bring everyone. It's really important for people to look at those concepts so that we can get feedback. One of the things that we do know on Route 7 is that the state is finally going to commit some funding to it. So they're talking about just the section in front of Bellevue Road. The linkage study doesn't have any funding, it's just a study. So it is really important to have implementation funding, and it's going to be key to New York State to hear some of the feedback from the public on such things as the median and things like that. And whether or not they would be okay with a median in front of their driveway and having to take a right and then a U-turn, that kind of thing, is going to be really important for us to understand how the public would receive that. So yeah, we had a good study advisory committee meeting. The draft materials for the public have been reviewed. They're making changes based on the comments from the study advisory committee and our member of the public that showed up. Yeah, did you guys want to add anything from that?
I think, I always try and look for a similar location nearby that might look like what it would when we were talking about the median.
Mhm.
And that's actually driving down Albany Shaker Road out by the airport. And if you go down that, it's actually a 4-lane road with the median in the middle. It's not going to be maybe exactly the same as what they're proposing out here. But I did put some pictures together, but you can actually see what it looks like with just the grass, what it looks like when you have some trees on it and that narrowing feeling, what's going on. And the statistics are pretty similar. Albany Shaker is a 45-mile-an-hour road, and the 85th percentile is 53 miles an hour. When out here, we've got 45 miles an hour, and the 85th percentile based on the study is around 50 as well. So
When you say the grass, what does it look like again? I mean,
it's good to see the comparison, but it's maybe not exactly what they're proposing, but it can give you a feel for what might happen to Route 7, as we move forward. So I always like to find something that's similar so you can get a feel for it. We talked about that with a lot of
would
others.
this middle picture be the one, or just?
These are all of it, all three of them. And this is Route 7.
Built
Okay.
like in the ground, already made.
Yeah, it's in the ground. If you go up
Interesting.
around the airport where the hotels are, it's that section between British American Boulevard and the hotel. Currently,
Yeah.
so-
Send
It's
us
a very
a-
good comparison because cities seem to do that more than the state.
Yeah.
Like city of Schenectady has the medians on Erie Boulevard. Yeah.
It
And
might be a county road, I'm not sure.
oh, really?
But anyway, it just provides, if you want to go drive, it's local, so you can go drive it and get to something that might be similar.
Is there a bike path on there now, or?
Not along that one as well. But not along. It's a different setup. It's not residential.
That's it. It's not residential, so that's a big difference there. And I think the biggest concern is gonna be people taking a turn. Once they take the right turn, they have to go in the opposite direction. I think if we can show that visually and in tapes. you
That's what
know,
they're working on. Yeah, that's some of the feedback.
That's gonna be I think, the biggest concern.
Yeah, they changed some of the slides around and they're
Yeah.
working on the feedback for how it works to take a left on Route 7.
Or if you want to come from Latham, how do I get back in my driveway?
Yeah, they're gonna have all of that. I mean, it's just a concept, right? But yeah.
That education,
Yeah.
it's very basic.
Right.
My imagination can go wild or not. Like,
Yeah.
so this is helpful.
Yeah.
And I was on this stretch of Albany Shaker this morning. And it's easy and it's lovely, but I'm there because I'm only going one direction. And I'm not.
Just grab one from the building.
Yeah, there's two chairs.
Yeah, can you switch over? There's one down here.
I guess, just was wondering if other members to Safe on 7 committee, I mean, I'm just wondering if we as a committee need to be giving our input to the Safe on 7 committee, that the news clip that I shared with folks September the 23rd Michael Arthur, Regional Director for State DOT, said in a statement, one, that the agency is planning to install raised median and other traffic calming measures. Project is in the early design stages, and further details, including specific design features and construction timetables, will be determined as the project progresses. And, you know, he does say they do want to consider public input. And I mean, I don't think us submitting input, we don't want to wait to do that when the construction equipment is out on Route 7. We're at the design stage now. We're at the stage where DOT is looking at things. And so if we have some input, you know, we certainly would want to pass that along. And I mean, I'm just thinking about, you know, bicycles on Route 7. There's a possibility of narrowing the bike lane. I mean, some options, narrowing the bike lanes down and putting a bike lane in the roadway. Or there is the sidewalk that's there now. We could continue with the sidewalk as it is now, 5-foot sidewalk, and pedestrians can use it. And the town could decide it's going to be a multi-use path, even though only 5 feet, and bikes and pedestrians can continue to use it. And then there's the option of perhaps widening it to 7 feet or something like that, a concrete multi-use path that would be used by both bikes and pedestrians. And I did send the question around, and Jim Levy was kind enough to reply that, you know, bicycling on a sidewalk, it says, while riding a bicycle on a sidewalk is not prohibited by New York statutes, some municipalities have passed ordinances prohibiting bicycle traffic on certain sidewalks, and Scotia has one where if you're 10 years or younger, you can ride on a sidewalk, but not older folks. Prohibition usually posted. Sidewalks are for pedestrians. Cyclists on sidewalks can cause conflicts with pedestrians, like long-way riding. Crashes can occur because bicyclists are in situations where others do not expect them. And I guess I'm, as a committee, familiar with the road. If Mr. Arthur were here, he said, well, folks, what do you want to recommend for how bicyclists are supposed to get up and down Route 7? Are they going to ride on the sidewalk with the pedestrians, or do we want to look at a bike lane on Route 7? And I guess I'm just wondering, have you thought about that? And
Well, at the committee, Safe on 7 meeting, there was somebody there from regional planning. They're not in the stages of design. This is the first thing.
they're not, or they are?
No, they are not. So they have some concepts, but they have not started the design yet. That was one thing they clarified. They're looking at the 40-mile-an-hour stretch, which we know. So, and the other thing was they were talking about narrowing lanes as one thing to control speeds. That was one of the things they were talking about, and they were talking about medians too. And one of the questions that came up, since we're having the meeting in November to talk about the whole corridor, what happens with DOT? So there has to be some kind of synchronization between the two, that we're not proposing something with the Safe on 7 study that's completely out of DOT's perspective. So that was one of the questions I have. What do you do with the presentation? What do you talk about? Because there is that section. So it's not under design. That's the key thing.
Well, so the point of that is that I think they're actually kind of waiting. Typically, they would do a broken median, like they showed in the picture of Lake George. Because there's so much public opposition to a full median because of the concerns for Lake George and things like that. So I think that DOT got a really detailed presentation about the different ways to like look at the corridor as a whole. And they're not opposed, because we had a pre-meeting with DOT, to anything that we're proposing to the public, right? They may not be able to fund the entirety of what we put there, but I do think that we're going to parse away DOT's project and get unfiltered like comments from the public on these concepts. And then that should help inform DOT on how they want to proceed. And Bill, to your point, and I know that you know, the Complete Streets Committee has reviewed the existing conditions and given the linkage study all of their comments, and it was extensive, and so was the public. And they literally went through every comment that they received and created a drawing of all of the different concepts and treatments that you can do to Route 7. And it's like a menu of options. Like you could have 2 sidewalks on both sides of the road. You could have a sidewalk on a multi-use path. You can have a median. You can have no median. There's only a couple things that they know that they can't do based on the numbers, what people ask for, and what DOT requires. And they're not looking at reducing Route 7 down to 1 lane of travel in either direction. And they're not looking at traffic circles because of the amount of traffic that it would have. But all of the other menus that have come from both the public and Complete Streets are being looked at.
And so we've identified some options, but I guess I'm saying, there's our Complete Streets Committee. I mean, if DOT or whoever was saying, well, what do you folks recommend? What would you like to see us do here?
That's
Do we
the
have-
whole point of the public.
Well,
hearing.
we are going to get input from the public, but we have people here that live on the road and bike on the road. And so I guess I'm just wondering, do we have any sense from this committee? Would you like to say our bicyclists and not just find your way over the bike path. It's like pedestrians can walk up and down on Route 7. And,
Okay.
where are the bicyclists supposed to go? Tell us that today.
Right. I mean, I really feel that this November meeting is going to inform the state. I mean, that's the priority. I think for us going forward and making some recommendations right now is too early as a group. I don't think,
We
you know,
need to
really.
really concepts as well.
Right.
They need to be presented
Right.
in the context of the presentation.
Yes.
Giving them all our thoughts.
Yeah.
Essentially put them down on a piece of paper now. And so it's gonna be important for us to actually look at them, think on them, you know, sort of let them in, drive
Public have
through.
the same option that they are going to see them also, and
right.
that's public will be able to say, we like this, and the options
Or
are,
they don't like it, any of it. I mean, we don't know. You don't know how the
Yeah.
public's going
Yeah.
to react to this.
Thanks, Jim.
okay.
Just in case.
So my request for some thought from the committee is premature, is that right? Or, I mean, I don't want to see the road graders out there doing work and us saying, hey, we wanted this option, a bike lane, or we wanted a multi-use pathway here. And they'd say, hey, we have public meetings and we've been waiting to hear from you, or you live.
Let me just put this to you, like, would you just wanna say, hey, we want a meeting right now? Or would you wanna look at the concept drawings, look at the data that they've used to inform the concept drawings? And then based on all of that data, say, okay, yeah, that one makes sense to me, right?
Yeah, I would prefer that model, as you say, but I mean, I just want to be sure that the state stopped waiting to hear from the community and mentioned we had a meeting, one citizen showed up that, hey, we've been reaching out to you. We haven't heard back from you. So if the supervisor or Complete Streets Committee has got a preferred, you know, what would we like to see if we had our druthers on how bikes are supposed to move up and down safely on Route 7? And, I don't want the project to go by without us offering not only on bicyclists, but other options. So,
So I'm just pointing out that you have 3 beautiful, amazing members that go to all of these meetings.
yes,
And they do bring all of those comments forward, and they usually send the state the longest list of comments of thoroughness of review that I have ever seen in 12 years of being a planner,
okay.
which is really awesome and amazing. But I mean, if you think that something's been missed, or you have a real concern and you have in your heart, you know what you want to see on Route 7 and you want to speak to it, you can absolutely send
Well,
that
I've
forward too.
sort of said it here. How are bicyclists supposed to move up and down Route 7? And so if there are 3 options or looking at it, 4 options, or even if the members of our committee that go to the Safe on Route 7 committee, that, you know, there's one they like. Yeah, they don't say it today, but I'd be open to hearing.
I think we just all have to go to the meeting on the
Right.
18th,
Yeah.
it's the 18th,
Okay.
and we can all provide input then, along with the public. So I think that's what we gotta do.
We're not supposed to comment on the concepts anyway, because they're draft, right?
Yeah, we're mostly just working on the idea of how do we communicate these to the public so that we get, you know, sort of unfiltered feedback on how they would work. Yeah.
And we have had opportunity to comment on their proposed, their draft plans. I mean, we have the group that attends these meetings, so we have had that opportunity already, and we have submitted comments.
May I ask them if they don't do more work on the sidewalk?
I don't know that we have that many more chairs.
It's not gonna be here very long.
And bicyclists ride on Route 7, would that be illegal, or could the town say it's okay for bicyclists to ride on the existing?
Given the volumes and speeds, the town would not want to advocate for people riding on Route 7.
Okay.
No, that would not be best practice. People can do it, but you don't want to not advocate. Which is why I think right now, there's no regulation against riding on the sidewalk. Despite the conflicts that can bring.
We've had some guests join us.
Would it be all right if I just had a few words about books?
Yeah, I guess we'll reopen privilege of the floor.
I'm sorry, well, for some reason I thought it was at 2:30 the meeting, so.
Okay, Ben, why don't you tell us a little bit about Route 7 and
I mean, it's by no means at the scale of route, sort of Lock 7, it's no means the scale of
we're
route.
concerned about the safety of every citizen who lives in New York. In this given island.
Well, they're on easier to stop. The call to action for me was I was walking my kids earlier this week along Lock 7 Road. So along Zone Road, it has pretty low traffic, and someone cut across and basically forced us off the road. And I had a 5-year-old or 3-year-old, I was pushing a stroller at the same. People whiz down there. It's really dangerous. There are, I think, 10 children on the road itself, another 2 just on the corner of Rosendale. It gets used by pedestrians, by dog walkers, cyclists, runners, all the time. And so, yeah, I wondered what we could do to make it safe for pedestrians and cyclists. My proposal, and I'm not fixed on this, if there are other routes which could be done, is to use something called advisory shoulders. I lived for a while in the Netherlands, and in rural roads, they just kind of have shoulders which are designated for cyclists and pedestrians. They allow cars to pass where they need to. They're very cost effective because you just have to paint them. They're easily reversible if it doesn't work, because you just paint over the paint. There's lots of successful precedents of how they've been introduced. It improves pedestrian safety, but I think it also improves road safety as well, because like by the fact that you'll just have a narrower lane, people will drive at a slower speed. It's supposed to be 20 miles an hour, but I mean, I think most people who go along there go much, much faster. So yeah,
It's kind of a disaster waiting to happen, I think, both vehicular and pedestrian. They go fast, they have hitches, the boats, and it's a busy, busy little, road. So
Would you mind giving your name and
Jude
address?
Pagano, 2827 Rosendale Road.
Okay, good.
And so, yeah, I think Ben's on to something. I mean, it's that there's a blind curve there that.
I live on that curve, exactly.
7 Road
Lots of
going down.
And I mean, that's a recreational area down there, so lots of people, not necessarily walking, but driving down there all the time. And none of us have any speed limits, let's be honest, where it says 30, or, we go faster. And, yeah, we're just really lucky somebody hasn't been harmed.
and I thank all my neighbours for coming along. Every single one of the people on Lock 7 has signed this petition. So we've got Ariel, we've got Steve, we've got Jim, we've got June, and we've got Jessica. That's almost half of the neighbours along this road. So we would just like to get something done, preferably this, because it should be quick and it should be cheap and easy to do. But we just want to make sure that our families are safe.
If I could comment, I know none of you were here when I had the privilege of the floor. If I could have just another minute. I'm on Rosendale, right where the turn is.
Yeah.
So I can say, when my son was growing up, he would say, could I take my bike, go from Rosendale to Lock 7? And I said, absolutely not. absolutely no way can you do that, because we walk our dogs all the time. And as you mentioned, there's a blind curve, people come around it fast. The issues on even that short section that he would be on Rosendale Road, it is so dangerous. And it's amazing to me, you know, when I'm getting my mail, the people just won't even move over and show respect. So I think I would absolutely say, because I walk my dogs there all the time, that this is extremely dangerous as it is on Rosendale. We're dealing with it.
Oh, Rosendale's horrible.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, it might be speed bumps to slow those cars down. You know, there are ways to get the cars to slow down at least 3 seasons of the year, not in winter. There might be other ways just to get us all to slow down when we drive down.
You asked Bill, where can the bicycles go? I personally, I mean, like I said, I'm very close to Lock 7. I won't take my bike from my house down Lock 7. Absolutely not. There's like, you know, the one side, there's no curb, there's no place for you to go when a car is coming, really.
There are 2 examples. I mean, I just mentioned quickly, you did mention speed humps that on Springsteen Avenue, it's kind of behind Colony Center, Washington Avenue Extension Road. In Springsteen, they have painted new speed humps and they have decals on them. So if you wanted to see some new ones and what they look like. And then Mardella Road, also in Colony, is another road.
I mean, I hate speed bumps, but they slow you down. CVS has speed bumps.
They're deadly. They'll tear up the
Yeah,
undercarriage of your car,
it's
but they're like gorgeous.
Bikers would have to, I'm not a biker, but negotiate, you know, I guess they're done in strips so that you can get rid of. It's just one possibility. The lines, if it's wide enough, the lines might.
So this is what Ben has sent.
So would it take away from people's property then? Would
No,
there's room on-
you just move having a dual lane road to having a single lane road with
Here's the picture.
advisory shoulders on the side.
Ben is saying a single lane road and then.
So
Anyone else? So
if they make the road like this, does that mean we would reduce the speed? I'm 1271. I'm the very last house on the road. And I'm Jessica Beasley. So I am right at that corner. So I see the 25-mile-per-hour speed limit. And I will tell you, as people come around that corner,
It's actually 20.
no, I just looked at the sign before I came over. It's 25. They like floor it. I don't know if there's teenagers thinking that they're having a really great time on that last little straightaway. I don't, but I'm honestly shocked. I haven't lived here quite 2 years. And I think I've only seen 2 accidents on my corner, but I can't believe it's not more, honestly. Like, and I can't believe there haven't been pedestrians involved. Like,
It's one.
well,
I've been
just
there
in
for
the,
years,
yeah.
And there's been some, just little accidents and some pretty bad accidents.
your name, sir?
Steve Seminator, yeah, 1268.
Anything more you want to add or?
No, just adding on to what was said, you know.
I've been there just over 9 years. This is Jim Kokernak. And in addition to there's 2 blind curves, one right by Ben's house and right by Jessica's house, where when you're walking, you really have to walk on the other side of the road. Otherwise, you risk getting hit by someone that's, you know, encroaching. Because one of them, there is a hill right by Jessica's house where there's no room for you to go. The only thing you can hope for is that they would avoid the fire hydrant that is there. That's really the only place that you can go. And your other option to be on the other side is up against the guardrail, which doesn't really give you any place to go if someone is coming behind you, or even if you're walking on the left side of the road along the guardrail. I walk my dog there all the time, and
Is this when you go over the bike path and you head down to Lock 7 Park?
no, this is between Rosendale Road and
Oh, I see.
where the bug trail crosses. So you end up with that section where on the right, it's the old state land. I think it might still be the state land. That's the you know, the drainage area. There's a guardrail along there. That's where I think it's referring to people driving incredibly fast because no patrolling. There are no houses along there, but there often are bikers and pedestrians. And if you're walking along that guardrail, you have nowhere to go if someone is not paying attention. And I think what Ben is proposing at least gives the drivers the visual cues of where they're supposed to be, and allows you know, recreational users of the road to, or bikers and pedestrians and runners to have a place where they can, think that I should be recognized as being in my area.
To be fair as well, like I think once you have more people using it on foot, it'll also encourage motorists to slow down as well. And in addition to what Jim said, if you guys really don't want to do that, I own the land next to the state land. So if you want to put a path straight through and connect it to the bike path, we can make that happen. But this seems like the lowest, cheapest cost option.
Would you like to say a
I
word?
agree, and the speed seems to be a real problem. I don't know. I like the idea of speed bumps, maybe more signs or something right at the corner, and maybe reducing the speed to 15 miles an hour or something like that might be helpful too. But yeah, my family and I use the bike path all the time, and you just sort of cross your fingers that you're going to get to the bike path without having an incident with a car that's going really fast. I didn't realize that you guys had to run off the road, and oh, that's scary.
It was a person holding a boat, and they cut that blind corner. Yeah, so they were fine when the boat was over.
Oh, okay.
So you haven't given the heave-ho to the idea of a sidewalk, right? Even though they're substantially more expensive than other options.
The way I think about it is let's start with doing the simplest, easiest thing first, which would be reversible. Just get it done. It doesn't cost, it costs peanuts. If that doesn't work, we can revisit it and try and improve it. So I don't think we need to make the perfect setup for pedestrians, right? Let's just try and improve it gradually, and then if in a year's time we still have significant safety issues, we can come back and be like, hey, people are still speeding even though that it's a bit safer. Let's put in a speed bump, or let's put in a speed chicane. But I think at least let's start with something simple, make it safer now.
Well, we'd have to get the highway department. We can't do too much in debates, but I think today what we want to hear is you're saying there's speed on the road and it's not safe for pedestrians or bicyclists. That's the main message.
Yeah, that's right.
Laura, forgive me for not, this is a town road, correct? I asked because it connects to the walk.
Question. We had to do a lot of research because if you guys remember, that road was very, but it had a lot of problems. The town is the one that ended up paving it recently, but not because we have a deed. It's really unclear who's the ownership of that road.
But any neighbor who had a spray paint can could put a fog line in on a Sunday when no one's been.
It's somewhere between the state and the town. And I think the town finally decided it was so bad that they paved it, and then they were sort of hashing it out with the state. But of course paving it will make cars drive faster too. Yes. But it has nice new pavement now, but they go probably faster than they used to. I have never seen a concept like this. Like, we will definitely look into it. May not be legal in America. Yeah, but we'll look at it and then we can look at some other things. Like, Europe is sometimes like far better at traffic calming than we are, but their drivers also expect more things like this than we do. So while I actually think that that's awesome, I'm not 100% sure that we can do it, but we'll look into it. I mean, I only saw it an hour ago, so.
I guess my retort is that, where I grew up with what I call roundabout traffic signals, and they were everywhere. Now they're coming. Drivers are learning to navigate. Like we can't kind of say, well, American drivers are not used to any of these concepts, so we can't do anything. That seems very reductive. I guess on the other hand, there are plenty of roads which are single lane, in the US. You have to, we're in upstate New York, that, you know, you don't have to drive too far out to just be suddenly on a single lane road if you try. And so I don't see how you could have, anyone could reasonably say, well, drivers don't know how to navigate a single lane road. That's ridiculous.
We're
So,
with you. I'm just not sure that we can. Just so you know, we'll research it.
Wait, the other interesting point about that road is it's used all the time as buses.
Yeah, buses are there.
To turn around.
And that
Which
gets
is,
you there
which is a
fast.
little scary with a blind turn, because they're so big, they're taking up the whole road, right? So. Interesting thing that goes on that road.
My daughter recently moved to New Haven and speed bumps. They have these speed plateaus that are very effective. I think they're probably easier for the plows to navigate. And if you're going the speed limit, they really are not that not much of an impediment for the drivers. It's when you're driving too fast, and if you're towing a boat or something, you probably want to slow down. A couple of those along the straightaway. And probably right where they come off of Rosendale Road, because the other thing that I noticed right by Ben's house and Ariel's is that cars are coming towards Niskayuna from from like the Lions Park direction are coming quite fast when they hit that turn. It's almost not a turn; it's a straight, so they can be entering Lock 7 Road easily going 40 or 45 miles an hour. And it's not until they get to the turn at Jessica's house that they really need to slow down, or they'll just kidding the guardrail.
All of you missed my God everywhere. There's accidents right there, people who can't navigate that,
Yes.
that turn on Rosendale Road.
Well, I'm at the house right at Lock 7 Rosendale, and I can't tell you how we don't even look up anymore. The people that
Yeah,
miss the turn
It hit, I
and
see
go through my yard. I mean,
Yeah.
it's happened.
the telephone poles have been hit. It's every winter. It's signs that have been hit. We're just, that area is just.
Look at all of the cans and white claw cans that are over the guardrail. It doesn't really surprise me. Yes, that's right.
I pick up. On the throne. What is going on?
Well, you've come to the right place to get started, because everybody here is advocates for pedestrian and bike safety, and we do make recommendations to the town board and the highway department for options. But at the end of the day, the town board members make the decisions. They have to decide where money gets spent, where we do things, and certainly they listen to the highway superintendent. So
so should I pick this up with you, Laura? So you think just to see how we could get some recommendation to this?
I think we'd have to kind of see some options. We'd have to sort things a little bit. And as Jim Levy mentioned, I mean, that's kind of what's legal, what could we look at, would circumscribe, what we'd be able to do too.
And I guess if that's not legal, then I think we then want to move to having speed bumps. So
Well, speed humps, certainly an option, and it doesn't depend on a police car to be there because the humps are there. And then, if there are buses and speeding cars on there, you might want to think about an option where you get the pedestrians and bicyclists off the road, where you have buffer safer. Okay. Thank you for coming.
thank you.
And again, feel free to send us an email with a more detailed presentation. And thank you, Ben, for sending us one so we have an idea what's going on.
So just for so you're going to do some research and then come back to me as whether it's legal, or how does this work? Because I'm not familiar with this process.
So my recommendation is people who come to us asking for road calming, traffic calming fairly regularly. We have one person on Birchwood. We have a number of roads where people come from, and we put them under our discussion items until we're ready to make a recommendation. So we'd probably put the Lock 7 request under our discussion items. That gives us a month, kind of research it. And you could certainly, if you are able, come to the next one, or you can come virtually, and then we can discuss it a little more. And then we can have a little more sort of vetting of what the town would be willing to consider, and to Mr. Nikki's point, what we can even really do.
Thank you so much for your time, everyone.
Yeah. And I did send an email to everybody, so if you got a chance to take a look. Okay, let's return it. Anybody else want to offer an observation on Route 7? That's kind of where we left off. We're going to wait for the November 18 meeting, see options, and then we'll have some more discussions in committee if, okay.
The only thing I would add, I can only speak for myself here, is there's not a scenario I can see where bicycles and vehicles gather on the roadway on Route 7 makes any sense.
So that's not actually a
Okay.
consensus. They haven't painted a bike lane on the road. I think for that very reason, they go through the WTCD or NACDO or whichever one it was, the guides. And I don't think, to what Jim said, I don't think that they would ever actually tease up bike lane on Route 7.
So if cars can't avoid other cars, they can avoid bikes.
Right, yeah.
So even if there was a metal
No chance.
fence in the middle of Route 7 that had the bikes on one side and cars on the other, you would,
Not a chance. I'd be opposed.
But Latham Farms, you go on to Route 7, heading towards Schenectady. There's a little bit as you leave Latham Farms that is a designated place. It doesn't go very far. I was shocked. I might actually take a picture. I'll park somewhere and do that, but I noticed it in the last couple of weeks. So as you're leaving the farms, you take a right onto Route 7. As if you're going toward the Northway. Before you get to the Northway, that bike lane is gone, but it's a designated. It shocked me. And is there a time, should it be November 18th for that Safe on 7 meeting? Is there an alleged?
So we're still finalizing the details, and the reason for that is that we're a little worried, but also very hopeful that we would have so many people come that they couldn't fit in town hall.
Yes.
So we would rather err on the side of allowing more space. And so we're trying to confirm with the schools, if they would give us space, which I reached out to them. But like, it's an open house where the concepts are gonna be like up on boards for people to talk to, and then there's a presentation that goes through the different ways that they came to the concepts and all that. And so they want people to have time to both watch the presentation and be able to walk up to the boards and kind of interact with them. So what they kind of decided was that they would either do something like, okay, we'll have the open house from like 4:30 to 6:30 or 4:30 to 7 and do presentations at like 5 and 6:30 or something like that. So we'll have a little time before, then they can do a presentation, then a little time after, do another presentation. It'll be the same presentation because people don't need to stay the whole time. But that way, like people who want to come early before traffic, maybe not that much traffic, but could come. And then people who have to work later can come to the second one. It's trying to be as flexible as possible to get as many people to come. But yeah, so I mean, essentially, it's going to be somewhere between like 4:30 and 8:30, and you can pretty much come anytime in there. And then presentations, there'll be 2.
And will that be recorded and shared with the public?
So typically, the open houses are not recorded, and part of the reason for that is because they don't want to discourage like open and honest conversation. So they'll take notes of what everybody's saying, but they aren't typically recording. Mhm. But a lot of times they can put the presentation. You can put the
our time, anything on Route 7?
I think it's good. Comes down to 18.
I do agree with you that the bike path, not having a bike path would be a missed opportunity, and I gave a bunch of reasons in my comments, but anyway, just for,
We don't want, like, the pedestrians on Route 7, something more than just a sidewalk.
yeah, but I mean, as a non-transportation planner or whatever.
You're at a
I-
transportation service.
I think that's also a really bad idea. I've never seen them work. Most of the times I've just seen cars park in them or use it as another lane to drive in.
I'd say that there's a 99% chance that will never happen. Like there's others, so like, not the way it is today.
I mean, that's kind of begs my question is, if there's no bike lanes on Route 7, then do we just live with what we have now, a 5-foot sidewalk for both the bikes and the pedestrians to go on? Or do we have to do something else, even though something else will be very disappointing to Cynthia?
There's the physicality, I mean, you put in a multi-use path, could you put up a split rail fence? What I see now with behavior, my front lawn is not public recreational area.
We face that issue, Rosendale Road and other places where people's front step is close to the sidewalk.
I don't have the luxury.
Is there any data relative to bicycle accidents that have taken place on the sidewalk? Is this a problem?
On Route 7, they do have data and they did actually pull bike head crashes. And if the heat map isn't in this presentation, it's in the existing conditions on their website. And there are some, yeah. I don't know about townwide if it's an issue. Route 7 has just high volume, so yeah.
But the problem is people don't use Route 7 for biking because it's not a safe option. And I know a few of my neighbors, they bike to like Latham Wolf Road, and they go by Rosendale Road down to the bike path and then come back up and across Route 7 to get to where they need to go.
Just avoid Route 7, yeah. But I mean, even so, there are still some people that are biking it. And they do
There are, I
occasionally-
see them.
They
Yeah.
do occasionally have accidents with cars. It's not nearly as often as cars on cars, but
But with
yeah.
cars, not with other bikes or with pedestrians who are walking on the sidewalk. That's more.
They do have, I don't have the exact data in front of them, but I think it's usually a car bike gets reported to DOT.
So in answer to Tammy's question, there is some data on pedestrians and bikes on the sidewalk.
On the
Safely,
sidewalk,
so it's just a matter of digging to find it, or?
It's, well, the existing, accident of bicycles is on that existing conditions website. They did also put a bike pedestrian counter out on the sidewalks, which has been running for, I think, might even be done now. I mean, I think it ran for about a month.
I think it's me being like, I just don't know. If there's a car accident, it gets reported. If there's a bicycle, if it's a pedestrian, there's not some sort of injury that requires calling ambulance. Is it even reported?
So a bicycle to pedestrian, I actually really don't know.
Yeah, okay.
Bicycle to car is definitely contained in their data.
It's not- fix it.
Well, I can look into it for you. I just know that the ones that show up on their heat map are car and pedestrian or. Yeah, bicycles and stuff.
Sometimes it's a thing that we don't know.
Well, there definitely are incidents where bicycles and pedestrians cause problems for each other on the multi-use path, right? I mean, yeah. But I don't know how they're reported. Well, that's what I mean, yeah, I mean, yeah, I know, like, you know, my dad had my, daughter when she was really little in one of those pull behinds on a bicycle, and a really fast going bicycle came around a corner and they like both went off. I mean, it definitely happens. They both like, what's that right? But I don't know that, yeah, I know, she's fine. They're all fine, but yeah, I don't think that, I know that.
Okay, let's move on. Sidewalk project on Birchwood and Cornelius. I've had an engineering company take a look at this and have some proposed designs. I think, very grateful that we have a town board that's willing to take a look at some recommendations that we have. We had applied for a grant 2 years ago that we didn't get to do a sidewalk on Birchwood Lane going from Troy Road all the way down to the entrance to Birchwood Elementary. And we had a second proposal on the west side of Cornelius. There is a sidewalk now that goes from Upper Union to Ray Street. We'd like to see the sidewalk go from Ray Street down to Hillside Elementary. And I guess our judgment time was to do it on the west side of the road. And that was our proposal. There are buses and a lot of cars on Cornelius taking kids to the school that they come up on Shrow Lane, on Guernson and Plum, make a left, go on Cornelius, go down in front of the school where they let students out, then they go through the parking lot at Hillside Elementary and then down, make another right on Plum and out. And we do have the new sidewalk on Plum that brings folks in from the other end, but this would be a sidewalk so that people that live on Guernson, Sherrill, and Plum, or on Union, Cornelius, Ray Street would all be able to walk safely to Hillside Elementary School. And last meeting, we talked about a crosswalk where buses and other stuff would have to stop right before entrance to Hillside Elementary. And so the town board has approved application for a grant. And I think it's about 1.1, 1.2 million. They've also put money in the budget. Action portion for the town of Muskegon. And so to me, it's good that we talk about options or solutions for neighbors that come in, and we do have some options that could work. And the town board's willing to get grant money or to do the matching, and that's really a good thing. And so the next step really is, Laura's asked for a couple of folks in the Complete Streets Committee, and I certainly would want to do that to appear before the board to make a case for street safety and walkability and the business that we're at in this community and why we think these are important. And sometime back in our priority letters, we decided that a good place to start was safe passage to schools, that if we want to encourage people to have their children walk to school, have to have a safe way for them to get there. And that's a sidewalk or a multi-use pathway. And so this is a start point to do that. And also made some progress with Van Antwerp. We now have a sidewalk that's on Palmer, and school districts doing some work there. And, school's also been, without going on too long, pretty good about asphalt pathways on the high school property, where if you come in on Steve Evans Walkway or Garden Drive or whatever, that pathways now that will bring students to the school, so you could ride on the local streets, ride your bike in on the path, clip it to a bike rack and go to school. And so yes,
Yeah, so I think the next steps are we still need to meet with the people on Birchwood and Cornelius, which we had talked about doing kind of around now to November, but I think because we're pretty focused on the linkage study, we might need to push that out. Maybe we could do something in the winter. And then, yeah, the presentation of the town board. So our next key steps are, I think that I can push the design engineers to come up with a colored rendering really at any time we want. So it's sort of to work with us, within ourselves, to figure out, how and when we want to interact with the people who live on Birchwood and Cornelius to really get their sense of the design that we've come up with. And then before that, obviously, do our presentation to the town board on the what we're doing right now, working on Birchwood.
So meet with the neighbors first, then meet with the town board.
Because the town board's asking for the presentation, or they moved it up a week, like November 9th or something like that. And the design drawings, well, I say they can be done pretty quickly, but I don't know if they can be done by November 9th. Government pretty quickly.
Laura, so can I just make sure I have my information right?
Yeah.
The neighborhood does not yet know.
To some extent, because we sent out flyers to them that said the survey is coming and we're working on designing a sidewalk.
It's gonna take land from them?
No, not at all. Yeah. And then a fair amount of them actually came to the Complete Streets meetings. And then we said, yep, we did do the survey. We'll get back to you when we have an actual design. And they came to us and they said, like, Birchwood, for example, I think at least, I'm gonna say 10 or 12, it was similar to Lot 7 just now. And they had concerns about trees being taken down. They had concerns about drainage. They had concerns about, like, the snow, putting this plows putting the snow on the sidewalks. So like on the design side, we went even around and tried to save as many trees as possible. We pushed the sidewalk back, so there's more green space for this plow snow to go on and less for it to be on the driveway. So essentially, we took their preliminary comments and tried to incorporate them in the design. It's almost like the Route 7 thing that we're doing now, right? So now we actually have the design, draft design. We're gonna bring it to them and be like, okay, here's what you asked for. Here's the way that we have tried to design it. And then just kind of go over it with them individually.
And largely, I think we heard from folks that were opposed that came to speak to us here, but there's still lots of folks that are supported. We've got an short survey.
So we said before, like, we don't know if it'd be an open house or we would just kind of walk up and down the streets and show them the designs. But we're basically, with just a little bit more work on the design, ready to kind of bring them a nice drawing that says, here's what it'll actually look like if we get the fund. We don't actually have the funding yet. We have applied for the funding and we're really hopeful that we'll get it. But
It just moves the road if you already have public support.
right, the design helps, yeah.
Anyone else with a question on Birchwood? The school zones in the town of Niskuna?
So do you guys want me to just send an email or something? Or we can all that we can talk to people about the design?
Sure.
I was wondering, what if we could get a room like for Cornelius at Hillside School or something?
Yeah.
And then the same for Birchwood, so that
So that-
residents
yeah.
could just come, you know, walk to the end of the
Yeah,
street and
it's a
go to
good
it.
idea. Since I'm talking to the school anyway about my Route 7, I'll ask them.
Okay.
And then maybe December, like, give them a month. They have strong opinions on Route 7, they can come to one and then come to another one.
I mean, I think it's important to listen to people on the street because it's their property, and if you get the sidewalk, it's a town road, you'll have to shovel the snow and. do
Yeah, I just don't
things
want to
with-
be door to door in December trying to have a conversation. So
Yeah.
we can all be warm in the lunchroom of Hillside.
Yeah.
I volunteer to help with that, but not door to door.
Right. Yeah, well, door to door can be really tricky and.
Yeah.
It would be dark.
Yeah.
Can we get to see the plans again before?
Yeah, I think we should also finalize the plans before we pick a date, so yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of stuff missing.
Yeah, there was.
That could be critical.
Right.
I mean, my guess is the PTO at either Hillside or Birchwood. Be a lot of supporters there. Sidewalks not on that property, but they want safety for kids getting to school. We also did discuss speed humps, say on Birchwood, which is another slowly we're gonna come through school zones, but all of it is part of the package to have safe passage for kids to get to school.
So we could just send them all a letter and say, this is the date we're having
Yeah.
it, but if you can't make it,
Then reach out.
email us and give us your email and then we can email them a summary of it. So then they'll know.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, so first step, I'll just work on, well, I'll get the updated plans and send them to you all guys to look at it. Then I'll ask the school in the conversations, you know, we're having about Route 7, if we can also use Birchwood and Cornelius. Or well, it's Hillside. Yeah.
I mean, I kept sitting just to ask, I mean, is the town board looking for an articulation of, well, what are we trying to do in complete streets? And why are we interested in these safe walkways to school? I mean, if they want that.
Yeah, I'd say so. I think that's helpful.
So if we have presentations at the schools, is it gonna be like just an open house where people come in, there's a couple of people sitting behind a desk, they're gonna talk about the design
Yeah, I
element?
would say so.
It's not an
Way
official
smaller than Birchwood.
presentation, so it's gonna be a small thing where people can walk in between the hours of 5 and 7.
They're happy with them, I get their
Right.
feedback. That's what
Okay.
they're about.
Ask questions and get answers and.
Yeah,
Well,
they'd all be there together.
Well, I mean, I was thinking of just some poster boards, people come in and look at things and they can come and go if there's a big meeting or we have an engineer. He would describe a little bit about private events.
I think it's a good time to listen.
right. I mean, we're trying to get their input on the design elements.
I mean, I think there's still some that,
Oh,
see the
yeah.
country road that are in Hawaii.
Right,
Yeah.
always, always.
Okay, though, to the best that we can do, we can listen to what is concerning to them and then come up with a design that does the best. They may still not want a sidewalk, but. Okay, sorry, Bill, thank you.
Yeah. And, we've sort of discussed this before. And Tommy asked us if we would, take a look at it at today's meeting. So, yeah.
I wasn't asking for a deep dive, just more, I'm looking to understand. First of all, why we have school zones within Niskuna that are school zones, which they are, and what the process would be to make sure that we slow traffic down in those areas. But I know, for example, like Craig School should hit all of the check marks, especially considering the way that Craig School connects to the JCC, or at least there's a natural connection between those two things. And the high traffic there, and the fact that it's, you know, where the speed limit is and the proximity from the road to where the fenced area outside Craig. It's nonsensible to me, why that wouldn't be a school zone. And obviously I have a secondary thought months and years down the line that we should have, cameras in those school zones to automatically send tickets to people who speed in school zones. And that's just my own personal feeling, of course. It's one thing to have them at other places, but I think it should be very easy to get the community to support making sure that people are safe in school zones. And we have the means, at least it seems, or the potential, it seems, to make school zones safer. So I want to take a look at that.
We've
I mean, the
actually,
town did submit a grant, right? For Craig's.
yeah, so we actually had, well, the speed zone in front of Craig is, I think, our number one priority on our complete streets priority with Balltown Road. We've had a meeting with them too, and they weren't completely opposed. There is one funny thing,
Who's that? I'm sorry.
DOT.
Okay.
They, their requirements for a school zone are that so Paulina Manzo lives in Old Niskuna and was working on this, but she left the complete street committee. I'm gonna try and dig up all her work. I tried a little bit and I couldn't find it right away, but I'll try again. She did like a whole bullet point on how that area meets the DOT criteria for putting in a school speed zone. We actually met with the principal and got his support for Craig Elementary School to have a school zone too. I believe that the police are also in support, so we kind of have everything we need to ask. The only thing that we may have to do, which may be a little more challenging for Craig, is that a school zone only lowers the speed by 10 miles an hour. And when Paulina submitted it to DOT, we thought this speed limit there was 40, I think, but it may actually be 45. It's confusing.
So we can only go to 35 in a school zone.
We have to figure out, and this could be a really good test for you. If I can find the stuff, I'll send it to you. What the maximum school speed limit can be and what the speed limit is in front of Craig, and if it requires both a speed zone and a reduction in speed, because the like the actual transition is like right there. It goes from when you're coming down Balltown Road, well, southbound down Balltown Road from the Rexford traffic circle, 45. Then it goes to 40 somewhere in there, and then it goes to 35 when you get closer to the high school. And 35 is actually ideal, obviously, because then your speed zone becomes 25 mile an hour, which is really what you want your speed zone to be. But you can't, because my understanding is that if the road is 45, you can't have a 25 mile an hour speed limit in this as a school zone. So that,
20 miles an hour.
correct. That's what we have to like figure out. It may require adjusting that transition and then making sure that you can still have a speed zone that's 30 miles an hour. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. I'll get as much as I can to you.
And then beyond that, what's the process?
Yeah, I think that what we did before we were working on it is, I mean, like, we could ask the town board to pass a resolution asking for it. We can request meetings with DOT asking for it. We can meet with the principal again just to get an updated letter of support.
But if it does fall within the DOT guidelines, let's say from 40 to 30, for example, we don't need any further permission from the state to be able to do that. It's the town's. Okay, so we could pass a resolution.
Yeah.
But,
DOT still has to do it.
gotcha,
Yeah.
okay.
Speed zones having sidewalk structure. So you don't have sidewalks there or a crosswalk to the JCC, then the speed zone doesn't do a whole lot. I mean,
And our plan to the state would realign the entrance to Craig Elementary, so it lined with the Jewish Community Center.
Okay.
And then we'd have left turn lanes both north and south on Balltown Road. And so if kids in an emergency, the JCC is the emergency place that they go to. It would all make more sense. I mean, the way it is now, nobody walks their child to Craig Elementary because Balltown, so that's a dangerous road.
Sure.
There are a few that take the bike path.
They cross at
From
St.
St.
Joseph.
Yeah, St.
Yeah.
Joseph's Drive and then go up and use the bike path. Kind of the back way, but some people we've talked about maybe coming on Knowles and kind of coming up the back road to the JCC, but they can cut across and go to Craig Elementary.
We have a study that shows, pedestrian improvements in front of Craig. And then we've asked, I think, before for the school zone, so I think we just need to resurrect some of that and then have a champion for it again.
But Rosendale Road is a little bit different situation. That's a county road where
Wait,
Yeah, Rosendale, I'm not sure about. We haven't looked at Rosendale.
I don't believe Rosendale has a school zone.
no,
I
they
don't
don't,
believe they're
We
quite-
don't. I don't think we do.
but
Yeah.
they also don't have any sidewalk to it, so.
I don't know that that's a prerequisite for the school zone, but we'll have to learn about it again. It's been a while since we looked at them.
yeah, I do think they kind of work together, that if you have a sidewalk on Rosendale Road that goes, say, Upper Union down to the Elisha Kill Preserve, it makes sense to have a school zone where traffic speed gets reduced to 20 or whatever it is, because, hey, there are lots of students that are walking and biking to school, so.
Oh, I agree, and I think it makes perfect sense to have it all buttoned up, where you have the school zone that has the sidewalk and across all those sorts of things. However, if you want to look at this somewhat incremental, especially when you have people from the public coming and talk about how unsafe they feel the speeds are on Rosendale, this is an opportunity, at least in 2 different spots on that road, to slow people down in the interim while building those things.
Like, 'cause when we were looking at our CRTC study, I think our first, like, because we have had that meeting with the Craig, principal, with the understanding that right now, really not able to do this, but they put an entire bus of children at Craig. They fill, and then they let the bus idle for 20 minutes while they're all boarding up. Then they drive them out the driveway and then down the JCC parking lot, and they empty the whole bus. Because it's not safe. And I mean, if that was my child, that's the way that I would want it to be. They're gonna be putting on our bus. But we were saying like, okay, what do we need to eventually create a space like crossing guard or policeman stopping all the traffic or whatever, where you don't have to waste a bus driver and you don't have to waste all that time to get the kids safely to the JCC. And what the principal said is like, they're still like, I don't know that a crosswalk would do the trick, which we understand. But the very first thing is the speed zone. Yeah.
And in addition, obviously, we do this today events there, soccer tournaments. There, it's not simply a Monday through Friday gathering space to do it.
Right. Well, and also there's a number of staff that work at Craig that then transfer themselves across the street, and they do walk. I do see them crossing on Balltown Road, the adults waiting.
So, forgive me if you're not knowing, are there any other schools besides those 3 that don't currently have school zone speed restrictions? School list.
Richmond has school zone.
Hillside must have.
Test, you know, school zones. I mean, ordinarily there'd be a blinking light.
There's no blinking lights.
Oh, St. Catherine.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Hillside doesn't, I don't think.
Birchwood and St. Catherine.
VA doesn't have a school.
I know of.
I don't think so. either.
And you think about that, I mean, if you, well, hopefully we might have a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit in the town, and so you could have a school zone speed of 20 miles an hour. But, you know, in Albany, which I pointed out, you know, they're writing a lot of tickets, but if you're driving, say, Van Antwerp Road, you're used to driving there at 31 and the speed limit is 30, and the school zone is now 20, and the camera doesn't care. It clicks off and you get the citation for $50. If you're going 32 on Van Antwerp Road, a lot of people would say, I'm driving safe on that road now. So, you know, folks in Albany, there have been some.
Oh, no, I saw Churchill's story here. I saw the, people are being ticked off. Hoo-hoo.
Well, I mean, when we get to it, I mean, I almost think it needs a good public education program and. Like
Or even warning tickets for that first
Yeah,
or
for the
18 months
first
or whatever it is.
warning tickets so that people get used to it and they know, I mean, we've got a crosswalk sign that's now on Nut Street at Regent. And I've been having some discussions with county, but some people say, I don't even see it. It's a half block away before you actually see the sign. And so you need some time to know it's there, or you can just get accustomed to it being there. When we put the push buttons on River Road, I mean, it took a while for people to know that, oh, I need to stop here and to do that. And I mean, I shop at the co-op. You can stand in front of the push button signs. With one foot in the crosswalk and the light blinking, and you still have to pay attention because there are cars that will still go through. So.
Oh, I agree. And then also you're talking about pedestrians of all ages. I mean, a lot of what we're talking about are speed limits that were set back before 12-year-olds had AirPods in their ears while they were walking home from school. So.
Can I ask one question on this push button pedestrian? I know the new one that just went in by Blackman Park there. They hit the button and it's great. All the lights go flashing. On Rosendale Road, it's flashing all the time and no one pays any attention to it.
Yeah, we've that one was set up with this in the same material way as the St. Cattery one. So that was the first one the town ever installed. The ones that the town installed after that one were modeled after the Aqueduct Road one that the county put in.
That's an old one.
So that's like basically the oldest one the town has ever put in. And we've actually looked at trying to retrofit it so it'll be a push button. It could be done. It is. I mean, it's money, but it's definitely, it is a priority. I mean, it is something that we'd like to do because it is not as effective for people to be.
It's flashing all the time. So
Yes, it's true. Yeah. No,
Chances going across the lane.
definitely do want to retrofit it to a push button. It is a completely different structure as the ones that are on St. Joseph. It actually looks, if you really look at it, it looks like it was modeled after the St. Cattery School.
we're not doing that yet. That's great.
Yeah, so we still do want to retrofit that one someday. Or if it gets replaced, we would replace it with a push button one. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So we are sympathetic to school zones. I think that's fair. There's some process that has to go. So we'll, yeah. We'll put it-
Hopefully we still until that, I don't have a history of that being such a high, one priority agenda wise, obviously. It's certainly personally one, for that, it's important, but for me, the straw that goes camel's back to ask to join this committee was my 11-year-old school.
Yeah.
Very
And,
careful though,
no,
but you might not end up that way.
no. All right, let's move on to planning projects.
Okay, so,
Just gonna hover now.
yeah, I'm just gonna share my screen because I forgot my computer. So
Can we go to 4 today? I mean, is that our official meeting time or are we?
that's actually the time I block out on the calendar. To figure out trusting it.
Used to do, and so I'm gonna, hope I can indulge people. I mean, I tell people it's 3:30, but I lie every time because we're doing 4, but.
Okay, so let me go fast through the planning project. So Niskayuna Harbor, that was the original plan. You guys looked at this one a couple meetings ago and recommended a sidewalk along, the houses that front Aqueduct Road. I don't know if you remember, that's gonna have the highest volume traffic of them going down in. I think that might have been from Tommy and Brian. And then maybe more paths. So this is the evolution right now. That's the one you commented on. This is the most recent submittal. And it does have a sidewalk in front of the buildings now that goes down and crosses. And they did add a potential connection here down along the park for like a public loop. One thing I noted is that if you guys remember, Rivers Ledge is over here. So there still isn't a direct connection with these off-road paths to Rivers Ledge.
So I was looking at these, is it that, if you go up on the drawing, very, let's call it northeast,
Yeah,
is that not a connection where it goes to the right?
no, actually, and I'm not 100% sure why that little nub goes to the right there. Rivers Ledge wasn't able to go down that far to the river. Their trails are all up here, and there's quite a great drop.
But in theory, the bike path moves.
Well, in theory, the bike path connects the two. There's also emergency road here, and so we could ask for them to put a multi-use path alongside the emergency road, or people would just walk across the emergency road as well. So, yeah, that's right here. I don't know like what the gate will look like on that or not. But I just brought it to see if you have more comments on evolution now.
The buildings have garages.
Yeah, I think they do.
Okay.
All of them.
When you look at the parking spaces that are showing, there aren't really a lot of parking spaces.
Yeah, that's
Buildings, yeah.
because each building has its own parking. Each unit in the building has its own parking. Here, I think each unit does still have its own parking, but they're dense enough that they have these side parking lots on them. Yeah. And then they have some overflow parking like here, here. Yeah. But the idea is like when you build a single family home in this unit, I know people have a lot more parking lots than big families, but you're required to have one garage space and one covered space and one driveway space. And so these do meet that.
Like the entrance.
Sightline wise.
No, I just think that it's with that short distance and that right angle.
Short distance.
School buses, I would imagine, would be going in and out of there. They gotta clip that corner every single time, and people coming out of there in the morning. Those people live in those green ones at the front there, so whatever peel. I don't know how they're gonna get out of their driveway. There's a lot of traffic.
So this, Laura, can you zoom in?
Yeah.
You see where it's written in red, where it says basement on the bottom? Keep zooming in.
Yeah, right here, the blue ones.
Just above that, it's a curb cut, right? Or the off Aqueduct Road?
Here's the curb cut.
Oh, no, I know, but keep going to your left now. Oh, back. There you go. You were just over it, right? Bang.
Yeah.
It doesn't connect to anything.
Right, but wouldn't that make more sense to be the entrance? They can have a straight shot going in. You can go to the right to those multi-families and straight ahead to the.
Yeah.
Is it graded? I think the big problem is
It
the
is very
grade,
straight.
where they are, the road is.
Gotcha.
But we can mention it and have them directly address it. So maybe like.
I just don't think that intersection is gonna work here.
Well, it is a lot of traffic going through a small. It's a funnel.
And it's very tight, and you get a school bus in there, and garbage trucks.
Sidewalk on Aqueduct Road?
No.
Okay.
But that is a 55 plus
Right.
community, but you said the other community.
No,
This one is, this one's supposed to be, if they're saying. Affordable housing. Oh.
Seven.
I don't think it works. Times like everybody's calling anything. Somebody ripped them off.
Okay.
Community, so you have a lot of retired.
Yeah, no, this one is,
The new one,
This
the
one. Yeah.
existing one.
Right. This one's,
It's gonna be full different.
this one's meant to be affordable housing to serve really anybody.
Right.
Yeah. We're hoping. We're working. I love River Sledge, but River Sledge is inexpensive to live in an apartment complex. Yeah.
Is there still time for us to walk this? I mean.
Yeah, they're just working away on it. So that was their updates to your comments, but, yeah, if you don't have any, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll put that our new comment is the entrance off of Aqueduct without a median right could be very problematic. And then we should look at the existing curb cut. Want to say anything else to them at this time?
Well, the fact that they've done a loop around the project, I think is encouraging.
Yeah,
So
really
we
cool.
like that.
So, and then right, the connection to the River Sledge. I already told them that. Our next one
Is
is,
the last, I mean, the last one in there, is there a, where you say senior center here, is this? River
Oh, we
Bridge
don't-
or something?
this isn't actually for us to comment on. River Sledge is already built. That's actually, that was more for the planning board to compare River Sledge to. Yeah, exactly.
Where there could be a path that would come from the bike path up to the road that goes to our current senior center, right? I mean, there is kind of an earth path there, but I'm just wondering. You can't get up to the senior center now if you're riding on the bike path. There's kind of a grassy trail, I think, but.
I know. The multi-use path connection from.
Okay, I'll have to go and look.
Yeah. It's relatively recent.
Okay, good. I'll have to take a look. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, that's just like comparison. Okay, this one is Kia. I think they've got the sidewalk going all the way to the edge of their property. The planning board didn't hold the condition to go all the way down to the edge of the town of Niskuna, so that's still good sidewalk. It doesn't go all the way, but so they've got the new sidewalk here. They've got street trees all along the sidewalk, and they added more street trees over there. But so I think they addressed all your comments with this one.
It's gonna be.
Yes. I know about the credit.
That's the two things that are gonna demolish.
Yeah, it's brick, so I feel like brick is almost always salvageable, but
Is that space in the middle right there? That's where they're gonna pull
Here?
tractor trailers in and unload
Yeah.
cars, so they're not out on the road doing
Yeah.
that anymore?
So they actually
Space-
reconfigured this parking lot
Okay.
so that the tractor trailers can enter here, and they changed it so they don't get too tight up against this corner. And then they can come in here and then come out.
Yeah, that's good.
So I know that it's a little sad that it doesn't go all the way to the town line, but we'll get there. And then this one is a new subdivision. I couldn't really think of anything, but I know that it's good to have complete streets, look at all of them. So this is the land that was subdivided by Luisi 2 or 3 years ago into 4 lots. He's now requesting a 5th lot, which triggers a major subdivision for him. It's Angelina Drive up here to the top of the drawing. It is, it's the name of the road, comes to the bottom there. Row is on the Longhand side, and then I should know.
You want me to
For you guys.
show it on the big map on the wall over there?
Yeah,
Like it's a-
it's the top. So, oh, Antonia. Yeah, okay. Angelina's on the top, Row is on the right, and Antonia's on the bottom. These are the 4 existing houses. 1, 2, 3, 4 that correspond with, you actually can't see 2 of them on this map. Those 1, 2, this is that really big one that's showing up right here. What they're proposing is to add another single family home right here. Neighborhoods are fairly walkable. We actually don't get a lot of complaints about speeding or safety in these neighborhoods. Van Antwerp Road
Will that lot go out to Angelina Drive? Will we have an access road there or will we have to come out on this?
No.
property?
This lot is contained entirely. Here's the end of Antonia Drive right there. It's right there. That's the end of Antonia. So like this lot is basically these trees right here.
But is that a stub there on Angelina Drive that could
Yeah, it is a
connect to
stub.
this property? The one-
Yeah, it is a stub. This one?
No, go over to the left a little bit more.
This one is a stub.
Okay, so,
Oh, over here?
no, the grassy one.
Oh, that's
Right there.
Yeah, that,
Yeah, that's where he's gonna put his driveway. Not the road. It's privately owned.
The paper road is a privately owned.
Yeah, this one that is like kind of lighter green. It isn't paved. I think partly because it's privately owned. This one is publicly owned and dedicated to the town. This one is not. It's privately owned and not dedicated to the town. So the town owns it up to the end of the pavement up there. But they are proposing, this is that light green grassy area to put the driveway to the new single family home.
so where would the house go in this? Is that
Right,
box right
that's
there?
in
That's the house. in it?
Yeah.
Is there anything going in those other two?
No, it does look like these are, but this is actually all one lot for this house and this is all one lot for that house. It kind of looks divided because there's a sewer easement that runs down through here. But really, this is just one big lot here and one big lot here. A lot of times we want to look for easements in future connections.
So
He's a really good future connection maker.
you can't, is it enough room to two houses? I mean, would he build a house there and then to the left of that house? Your location for another house down the road and
I think the
on the left
problem
of
for that is frontage. So you in New York State, you have to have this kind of frontage, and this driveway actually doesn't count as approved frontage. So I think it might be difficult, but not impossible. But do we have complete streets easement things that we can think of there? I mean, it's all kind of behind existing houses, so more of a weirder one, but
And there's no public streets involved with these four houses,
not really. No.
right? Because it's, if you look at it in Google, it goes to a certain point.
Yeah.
It says private property.
Exactly.
You can't bring the public stub down to the Antonia Drive, like with an easement through the property.
Just so that people could walk
Yeah, or,
north.
yeah.
We could ask.
Antonio Drive, at least from this map, looks like Antonio Drive ends
It does.
and hits the private property.
Right, so the problem is this is, it's basically private property from right here all the way down to right here.
And to the left where that stub of the road.
And to the left, this is all private.
But they-
Would we
they're
want to
by the
ask for a
same time.
connecting road off of Angelina or off that other stub up there to access all these properties?
St. Gerard Drive or something. That could be- That would be an alternative to Van Antwerp. Walking,
We could ask.
even coming down Limbo Lane and going, well, yeah, I mean,
My sense is it'll have a lot of opposition from the developer, but I don't think that's a reason not to ask. Or do we think that would be a good connection to me? It
It
doesn't
shows-
necessarily have to be a road. It could be a walking
Yeah, I
connection
would make it a walking path.
from here, like up to here. Or even from here up to this one even. Because what Carly's saying is sort of paralleling Van Antwerp Road.
Right, and it would be nicer to walk through the forest than on Van Antwerp.
Yeah.
And then they don't even need to pave it, it could just be, gravel or something.
Here. Two. Okay, anything else? That is all the plans that I had, I believe.
Okay.
Yep, that's all I had.
On e-bikes, the next item, Councilwoman Brennan had sent me an email, I don't know, a few months back saying they're hearing things. I mean, it's about people using e-bikes around, and actually I need to get more conversant. I mean, I know, well, see people that actually get bikes, and I think they have motors on them, where they're actually just going down the road on the back wheel. It's a wheelie up in the air, and you know, I was at a wedding in Texas, but there's a guy on a motorcycle that was just going down the middle lane between traffic on the road, with 2 lanes of traffic, a little weaving in and out of traffic, but there wasn't space just going between the cars. But anyway, there's and I guess you know, the chief has mentioned that they've had a couple accidents now with e-bikes where people kind of gotten banged up a little bit, and so I did send a note to Steve Feeney, who works for the county, in part based on the message that Brendan Kennedy had put together for us before, saying it's kind of working with county some e-bike legislation. And anyway, I guess we have the Mohawk Hudson bike path that goes through Niskayuna, but also the city of Schenectady, Glenville. And if there are going to be regulations in the Mohawk Hudson bike path, they ought to be consistent. And so Steve agreed with that. And then, I mean, I don't know if the towns want to, I mean, I mentioned that Clifton Park is looking at e-bike regulations, and we decided in our committee here that we were going to wait to see what they come up with. And then in the Capital District Transportation Committee, they noted that, oh, we didn't know Clifton Park was working on something, but we'd like to stay in touch with them, see what they come up with. The Capital District Transportation Council did say we do want to provide some training materials and that sort of thing. They also suggested that you know, there may be in towns that says it seems the greatest challenge municipalities are having with e-bikes has more to do with knowledge of and respect for e-bike regulations by users and the enforcement of such regulations, rather than the issue of e-bikes not being regulated. I mean, I guess they mean, well, the state has some guidelines on e-bikes, and I guess before we have any new regulations, let's at least find out, well, what can we do under the state law now? I mean, if the PD wanted to enforce something, well, what can we do under the current state regulations? And I mean, I guess there are some deficiencies. I mean, I shared this clip from, you know, New York City, but you know, e-bikes don't have license plates, and there's no age regulation, and so what are the police going to do to rein in speeders on e-bikes or whatever? And so it's kind of a legislative no man's land, as I read it. And I mean, if the chief of police came to our meeting and said, well, please look at this and advise us, you know, what can we do if we see somebody riding a bike that's going too fast, or I mean, I see folks riding on the sidewalk in front of this, you know, co-op. And so I don't.
Right on Route 7.
All the time.
Right on Route 7, so
I'm actually less concerned, well, not that it's not a concern, but when I see, there's two different, maybe there's more, but you're either riding an e-bike because you're commuting, or you're riding an e-bike for leisure. And the commuting is one thing, certainly more so in the urban area than the suburban area, but I'm seeing people tear across River Road Park on e-bikes. I'm seeing people go across the front lawn of the high school on the e-bikes. Or maybe our student representative has more with e-bikes and students, that sort of thing. If it's it is a motorized vehicle, correct?
I believe so.
I think it has a throttle, but the throttles are illegal, I think, in New York State.
Okay,
So but that doesn't mean they don't exist here. They do.
okay.
But
But you don't have to register it with anyone?
No. Yeah.
If I can share, the town's October newsletter had a wonderful brochure all about e-bikes and e-scooters and the New York State regulations, and where case by case, municipalities, if regulated through the municipality, can be more stringent. So if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. It's a really nice brochure. I'll pull it up.
smaller. Yeah, no, I guess.
And there are regulations.
Yeah.
And the education, I commend the town and the schools for starting on that. You can't legally be under 16 and ride.
Well, I have to register my dog in Michigan. How come you don't have to register your e-bike?
Yeah, I think that,
So that if someone is misusing their e-bike,
They're treated the same way as a regular bike,
yeah.
basically.
but it's up to the municipality as
It's up to you, exactly.
With few exceptions, like
Right.
any age can ride a bicycle.
That's right. That's right. So 16 for e-bikes, e-scooters.
But it's not enforceable.
No,
It's difficult to enforce. Chief, let me know.
Yeah, so, because when you're looking at them, you can't really, so like class 1, I think, if you pedal, it just gives you a boost. You can't really go any faster than you would normally. It just makes the hills easier for you to get to your work or whatever. And then class 2, I think gives you more assist.
right. It does.
Stops providing assistance at 20 miles an hour.
And then the class 3, they're like autos, like they're almost like little mini motorcycles.
But they're only allowed in New York City.
Right, but when you're like standing on the road, it's like you can't, it's not like one of them is neon red and says class 3. I mean, you can kind of tell the difference between a regular bicycle and an e-bike, because the e-bike has the like kind of a wider like thing because it has electronics in it.
And if you see somebody who's not pedaling at all,
Well, I think what's wrong? Class 3 though, and that one's like illegal.
yeah.
But yeah, it is really hard because even on a class 3 one, you can still pedal, and some
Right.
people do.
Yeah.
So like even like it was saying, is the point of New York City's, it's hard without stopping every single one of them and like checking their registration. You can actually buy ones that are got a sticker on them that says class 2, and then you can, so that they can ship to New York State, and then you can fiddle around with it and turn it into a class 3. And it'll actually have a class 2 sticker on it and be a class 3 thing. Yeah, it's complicated.
Maybe parents need
Oh,
education.
You're
to
allowed.
fully
Well, I
buy
think
these things for their kids.
we could track everything back to that ultimately. But I would say if you have a challenge with giving speeding tickets to people in vehicles who are driving, how could you possibly?
Well, that's what I'm saying, they don't even come up on speed radar things, because the radar machines aren't meant for humans.
Well, unfortunately, the reason I suggested you registering it. So should somebody wrap around a tree, should somebody hit a pedestrian, you know who that belongs to, and it's their responsibility.
You can string it, you can give them a copy of the rules.
Or you're driving it unregistered.
And
Other communities, they require, people that own e-bikes to register. I've never heard of that before. I mean, that's an idea. So it'd be the scooters.
On the town, so that it's in your.
Go ahead, Maddie.
And you can click on this and buy it now. Class 3, it's like from New York State. The shop I work in sells them. It's like a half out of bench.
I know it's ridiculous.
Oh, you can
Screenshot just
buy in New York State.
e-bike shop. Do they look like a dirt bike or whatever those?
No, they look like vehicles.
Someone's riding them on my street now. I think they're dirt bikes because they're driving crazy. They're like 12, no helmets, and they're up down my street.
No, dirt bikes have
In the road, in front of cars,
They're
in front of
electric
cars.
bikes too.
Where are your parents? They do that. Like, honestly, those are really,
Well, if you register it, then you'd know.
exactly. Those ones should be treated like.
But then you have to enforce that too, that they register.
Yeah, and
Just not the bad
that can be a trigger
Yes,
for,
that's
okay,
right.
let's stop this.
Yeah. And that's the same way the dogs are too, actually. I think there's a number of people don't register their dogs, but if their dog gets into a conflict, and it's an unregistered dog, I think it causes more problems for the homeowner.
It does.
Yeah.
Anyway, we have Brendan Kennedy, who kind of wrote this summary up that I shared with folks. And, I mean, we do have the Capital District Transportation Council, and we do have Steve Feeney with County Planning who's interested, and I don't know if there's, I guess I'm wondering, is there anybody on our committee that would like to be the in-house expert on e-bikes or dive into this a little bit more, work with Steve Feeney and I'm be able to answer all the questions that Laura's answering for us here and see, Maddie, would you be interested? Okay. I mean, we have to do a little, you know, some writing things up and, I mean, it's not a trivial thing because Councilwoman Brennan and the police chief, I mean, they've had a couple where people kind of got hurt a little bit, and so they're serious about looking at this. And you know, Councilman Brennan is like, well, if we can work with the county on something, and you know, we want to do that. So,
In my opinion, this will be a growing thing. This is not like,
oh yeah, it's
hey, we
gonna
talked
get.
about e-bikes way back when. This will be a.
Yeah, and then what are some solutions? I mean, maybe towns will say, well, if you buy one in a bike store, what you got to register it, or we want them registered, or whatever it is. Because I mean, now you see people speeding around on them in the park or cutting across the grass, and so you know, we got to do something.
I think it would be really helpful to have, like, in, say, your gym class at school that you're required to take, there's a day or two where you learn about e-bikes.
Okay.
Because a lot of people.
Oh, what you're saying is we don't want a young person or even a young person getting hurt or crashing into an old person.
Because
And,
they're
yeah.
also, if they're, the other thing it helps with is if they're new drivers, they have to learn how to respect other people on the road so that they can be safe. So it can help them become safe riders and also drivers. So somehow, like, maybe the police department could work with the school to put this in gym classes or something.
Well, I have to confess, I ran a 10-100-yard dash back when I was in high school. And there were moments when I was disrespectful of rules of the road. It's just encouragement from my patriots. I would never do.
No, of course not.
So I know, but now I'm the old guy trying to walk across the crosswalk in front of a co-op, and the motorists all stop and say, geez, I hope this guy gets across sometime today. So perspective has changed a bit. Yeah. I do think it's going to be a growing issue. So we have to look at it. So
Save the public wagon.
And I can put you in with Goofy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could like build a program where maybe we do safety training and we look into the registrations and stuff.
And
Yeah.
Councilman Brennan would be happy to know that we now have someone on the committee or is interested in looking at it.
It sounds like you know more about them than we do anyway, so.
Okay, now we have 5 minutes.
That would include the scooters. I mean, do a lot of people have these scooters as well? Or-
Yeah, I work at a bike shop. A lot of people bring them in with flat wheels.
Also, I would like to say, Ed Brennan, the Albany Bike Coalition is known to do trainings for local police. I mean, if he's willing, we should ask him if he'd do a training in this unit PD, or we could invite Mr. Dan.
Yeah, we could do it as a complete streets.
I'm doing this complete street
Yeah.
project and, you know, training, ask local, I mean, the Schenectady Bike Coalition and this committee and police departments, they want to send people if he's done the work of looking at the law and what we can do, then we'll do it at town hall and
We can also talk to Saratoga School District about it, because I know they have like programs in all of their schools.
Crimson Oak Court, the folks that, they sent us a letter. They're interested in a sidewalk that would get from Crimson Oak Court to Mount Street East over here. And, they're all very supportive of it. We, talked about a sidewalk on the west side of Van Antwerp Road. And there are people walk to GE and walk to Apple to get to work. But I gave a list to Trish Bergami of the houses that are on Van Antwerp Road. I think one of the ones that are up by Crimson Oak Court that have homes there that front on, one of those said they'd be amenable to a sidewalk, and I think we also have a right of way on another home, so a couple homes, but
We gave you an extra half an hour. But you're getting.
I'm gonna do 1 minute on this. So, Trish Bergami, well, we pulled the property lines, and what we want to do is just look at where the property, what is the right of way there now? So do we have enough space to do a sidewalk on the west side of Van Antwerp Road without encroaching, without going outside the boundaries of the county right of way? And Paul Sheldon said, I think you got 50 feet, so you got 25 feet either way. And we don't want to do that because then you could get one or two people that just say no, and you have to condemn property or ask permission. So we want to take a look at that. And then I want to say a little bit about a little money left in our complete streets budget that we could do the survey, or is that better?
I mean, you know, anytime there's money in the budget, everybody starts angling it for it, but there's some EPA money left in our budget, so we're wondering if we might be able to get a design for, or a survey, at least for Van Antwerp Road area, and possibly a survey or design for one more block of Plum Street.
So for a little bit, state service in other places, you never want your money sitting in your budget suddenly because then it disappears. So we've got a little piece of change, and you know, we'd like to do a survey or maybe a survey design. Then it shows good faith by the town and for us to reach out to the county and Paul Sheldon to say, hey,
It can fit, now you build it.
yeah, now
Right.
you've got to find the money to build it. So. Finally, comprehensive plan update.
Trying to just get the draft chapter update to you guys, hopefully this week. I'll try. I'm working really hard on it.
And then the other part was the appendix. The comp plan committee wanted information, kind of more detailed information on. I mean, Jim Levy would say you don't want to put projects necessarily in the plan because then it looks like you failed to do things or the town's committed. But they did say we would like an appendix, so just possible projects that we've talked about in this committee, and we want to list them there, which are just possible projects that are. But
You
Dark-
think that you could at least get a draft of that by the end of this week though, or maybe.
Maybe.
next week?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, sir.
Yeah,
I'll do that.
I know that we sort of have it in a couple of different spreadsheets, so we really just need to pull it together.
Yeah.
Put it on there.
And there are other things that are on that map that we haven't listed. So it's the auto ones that Carla put, you know, the car things, and then some of the spreadsheets that we have, and then stuff that we've talked about that we'd like to see on there. And I think they're just mentioned so that if we're doing something, we had an idea about Mr. Lisi's property or something like that. And somebody says, well, you didn't say anything about it in the master plan, but we've kind of listed a lot of the items, and some of them are, well, like the intersection here.
I mean, Tommy might not, but.
He'll learn when he reads your appendix.
Well, anyway, I'm working on it, and I'm gonna turn it into Laura, and we're moving along, because we do want to get the comprehensive things.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Bill. We'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second, all there adjourning.
Yep.
So thanks for coming today, and thank you for being gracious to the folks on that 7-Eleven.
And your effort.
Have a good day, the rest of